Hey everybody, Leah Klett here with the Christian Post, and I'm so excited today to be joined by the chosen star Jonathan Romie for a discussion about his brand new docuseries on Amazon Prime titled Jonathan and Jesus. Jonathan, it's good to see you.
Hi, Leah. Great to see you.
Well, it's so interesting to me, this series, Jonathan and Jesus, of course, it's
Mm,
right before season 4 of The Chosen. You're really vulnerable in this series.
mm.
Why did you want to create this?
It started with the opportunity to meet Pope Francis and then producers from The Chosen saying, hey, we want to send a film crew with you and capture this. Oh, and by the way, we feel like this could be a jumping off point to a global conversation with so many other spiritual leaders, thinkers, artists, musicians around the world, and an opportunity for people to get to see just what it is you go through in playing the character of Jesus. And I thought, oh, I've never seen anything like that before. That could be really cool. And I think it could end up inspiring some people um, because we would be talking a lot about the themes of surrender, because that's largely my story and how I got to where I am now, was that I had to surrender everything to God in order for him to take me to the next level in my career. And so I think capturing that story, I thought, might be of interest and of inspiration and encouragement to other people that are maybe struggling with the same issues of control and not knowing the outcomes of things in their own lives.
You were barely scraping by before
Yeah.
landing the role in The Chosen, and it's pretty heartbreaking. It shows these hardships that you faced.
Hmm.
How can you elaborate on how this experience really impacted your perspective on success and spirituality?
I think it because it because God took as long as he did to give me the opportunity to actually do what I love for a living and to have some success at it. Because it took so long, I think I really became so much more appreciative of having success, any success. And I think if I had experienced success much earlier in my career, I wouldn't have appreciated it in the way I most certainly wouldn't have developed the faith that I have now in the same way. Maybe I would have got there in another route, but I think for me, the whole process of getting to the point where I didn't have food for tomorrow, I think that was all part of God's design to to make me realize that I needed to depend on him, and I was used to depending on myself and not really activating my faith in a way that I think he knew that once was activated could go and change people's hearts and change the world one person at a time by playing a character based on the Son of God who changed the entire world. And I think I wouldn't have had the maturity beforehand. I wouldn't have experienced, you know, I wouldn't relate to the suffering Jesus had gone through in my own way, the same way, you know what I mean, had I not been through all these things first. So it definitely gave me a much deeper appreciation of what it meant to actually achieve a modicum of success at this stage in my life.
Hey, Jonathan, one thing that stuck out to me in this docuseries, you talk about how sometimes people have a hard time separating Jonathan from Jesus. And you say in one scene that people have told you that when they pray to Jesus, they see your eyes. And
Hmm.
that, I thought that's a violation of the second commandment, right? Like that's a little disturbing. That must be uncomfortable for you to hear as an actor. How do you deal with the discomfort when fans struggle to separate you from Jesus?
Well, I don't think it's not really my job to control what they think or how they react. The only thing I can do is remind them that I'm not Jesus. I'm Jonathan. I'm a person. I think the docuseries Jonathan and Jesus is a really clear insight into to kind of showing that for people. I think showing people what that is like and making people realize, like, I'm just a dude. I'm playing this role. That and I have a deep devotion to Christ. I think letting people kind of see behind the curtain I think helps make that distinction. It helps clarify that distinction and that separation, and hopefully will give people a better understanding of what the challenges that I have
Mhm.
tend to be, and so that if they do happen to meet me in person somewhere, because it's always possible, um, maybe they'll approach it differently. I mean, I've had pretty favorable encounters, but there's some people that haven't been, the kindest, and they just take certain things for granted. Like, you could be at a table and they just kind of come up and snap a selfie, like as you're in the middle of taking a bite of food, and you're like, well, would you do that to anybody, like anywhere, like, but they're so I think very, very rarely does something like that happen, but it just kind of makes you think, like, wow, okay, there is a distinction that needs to be made, and I feel like Jonathan and Jesus does a really good job at trying to make that distinction between me and the character that I play.
Talking to people like Francis Chan, who I love,
Mm.
Bob Goff, what did you learn about Jesus that maybe, you didn't know before, or most surprised you?
I I learned that there is more that unites us than separates us denominationally, and that's what I loved about meeting all of these folks, or most of them. And that's because there was a couple where I didn't get to meet everybody, but those who I did meet and got to talk with and hang out with and have conversations with, it just made me realize, like, we're all brothers and sisters in the Lord, and I think if we can find ways to get closer, to figure out ways to sit at the same table and break bread, and know that we all serve the same God, I think the world will be a slightly better place, and I think talking about and having these conversations is a way for us to get there.
Mhm. Jonathan, you talk about the tremendous pressure that does come with playing Jesus Christ, the Son of God. How do you balance your fame with your deep spiritual focus on God, which I feel like really does come out in this docuseries?
I tend to do a lot of praying, Leah. I kind of like when Jesus, was overwhelmed, and at the end of a long day, he would go off by himself and go in a boat or just go up to a mountain and talk to the Father. And so I find myself doing that often. I try to get to daily mass as often as I can. I try to stay prayed up with my sacraments and confession, and all the things that nourish and recharge me, and the Eucharist and everything, that kind of fills me up as a Christian, and gets me closer to Him, especially in the quiet of solitude. That I try to do that as often as I can, and that allows me, as well as, spiritual discipleship with spiritual advisors and spiritual directors and stuff. All of that helps to kind of keep me guarded and grounded, and um, remembering what is most important in life.
Mhm. And you do talk about surrendering to God, and we talked about that earlier in the interview.
Mm.
That's been so important in your life. Why is that such a central part of your life, and how do you continue to keep surrender in mind as The Chosen continues to blow up and become such a global phenomenon?
Um, you know, I think the same thing applies. When I'm in prayer, that's an opportunity for me to just humble myself before God and realize that every good thing comes from Him, and everything that I have in my life has come from Him. And so, as long as I stay connected to my faith, that's how I stay surrendered. It's if I were to, believe any of the hype, that anybody might write, or believe, or let any of the compliments go to my head, then I'm in dangerous territory. So as long as I stay in prayer and connected to my faith, it allows me the vehicle to be able to stay surrendered to God.
Jonathan, thank you so much, and I'll see you this week on
Thank
the
you, Ian.
steel carpet.
Look forward to it. Thank you.